On today's program, we'll discuss religion in Russia with a dissident Baptist minister. We'll also talk with a Danish architect about recent trends in Danish architecture and the design of German museums. Former Soviet Baptist leader Georgi Vins, one of 5 Soviets freed in a dramatic exchange that President Carter arranged with the Soviets in 1974. Today, the Reverend Vins talks with us about religion and the Soviet Union through an interpreter, his daughter, Natasha Vins. Reverend Vins, what is the state of religion in the Soviet Union today?
В Советском Союзе уже продолжается почти 60 лет гонения на христианство, на религию.
In the Soviet Union, for more than 60 years already, Christianity is being persecuted, and there is a fight against God, against religion.
Потому что в Советском Союзе власть атеистическая, которая ведет жестокую борьбу против религии.
In the Soviet Union, all the authority is in the hands of atheists, and so they're fighting with church, they're fighting with God.
Власть проводит обыски в домах верующих, отнимает Библии, Евангелие.
The government officials are conducting house searches in the homes of believers. They're confiscating Bibles, New Testaments, Christian literature.
Власти КГБ и полиция нападают на мирные собрания верующих, разгоняют их.
KGB and police are disrupting the peaceful worship services of believers.
Сегодня 170 баптистских пасторов, проповедников находятся в тюрьмах и лагерях многие годы.
Today there are 170 evangelical Baptist pastors and evangelists that are in prisons and concentration camps.
Since the Soviet Union is a totalitarian state and communism precludes religion, why can't they totally suppress religion in the Soviet Union?
Почему религия не уничтожена полностью в Советском Союзе? Это тоталитарное государство.
Вот это, конечно, тот вопрос, на который уже ответил Христос.
I think that Jesus Christ already gave the answer to your question.
Он сказал: «Я создам церковь мою, и врата да не одолеют ее».
He said that I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it.
Это записано в Евангелии от Матфея, 16 главе.
It is written in Gospel of Matthew, chapter 16.
Для церкви не страшны гонения.
Church is not afraid of the persecution. It cannot destroy it.
Гонение это только укрепляет христианство.
Persecution will only strengthen Christianity.
И поэтому советская власть не может уничтожить христианство.
And so the Soviet government, the Soviet officials, they cannot destroy Christianity, even they're trying hard.
Is one religion persecuted more than another?
Есть ли религиозные группы, которые гонимы больше,
Да,
чем другие?
гонимы, самые более гонимые, это евангельские христиане-баптисты.
Yes, the most persecuted group is the evangelical Baptists.
Но, кроме того, гонимы православные, методисты, лютеране, пентекосты.
But also I have to admit that all other religious denominations are being persecuted. There are prisoners, Pentecostal prisoners, Russian Orthodox, Methodists.
How do you keep in touch with the situation since you haven't lived there for almost 7 years?
Тебя уже 7 лет нет в Союзе. Как ты с ними поддерживаешь контакт?
Ой, я имею очень хорошие контакты. Конечно, это все секретные контакты.
I have very good contacts with the Christians in Russia, but of course they're secret contacts.
Я здесь представляю 2000 гонимых баптистских церквей на Западе.
I'm representing here on the West 2,000 persecuted evangelical Baptist churches in the Soviet Union.
И я имею от них фотографии, я от них имею письма. Конечно, это все секретно приходит.
I receive secretly all the up-to-date information about persecution. I have pictures of Christian prisoners. I have facts of their imprisonment.
Пастор Батурин, он уже 22 года находится в советских тюрьмах и лагерях за проповедь Евангелия.
This is a picture of Baptist pastor Nikolai Baturin, who spent already 22 years in prisons and concentration camps.
Его отец тоже был замучен в советском концлагере за веру.
Pastor Baturin's father was arrested when Baturin was a little boy, and he also died in a concentration camp.
Is it difficult obtaining photographs?
Трудно получать фотографии.
Да, есть определенные трудности, но все равно я имею очень много фотографий свежих.
Yes, there is difficult to obtain photographs, but still it's possible, and I have very fresh, up-to-date pictures from the Soviet Union.
This appears to be a printing press.
Да, это секретная типография, которая сделана руками верующих в Советском Союзе.
This is a printing press that was built by the hands of believers, and it secretly is printing Bibles and New Testaments in the Soviet Union.
Это пастор Скорняков, который отбыл 5 лет заключения, и его не выпустили домой, ему еще добавили 3 года за то, что он говорил о Боге в концлагере.
This is Pastor Yakov Skornikov. He spent 5 years of imprisonment, but at the end of his prison term he wasn't released, and he received 2 more years of imprisonment because he was telling other prisoners about God.
Can you get information out of the prisoners as to the status of their health and well-being?
Получаешь эту информацию о узниках, об их здоровье и по всем остальным?
Да, конечно. Вот этот снимок, который был пастора Скорнякова, он снят в советском концлагере.
Yes, the picture of Pastor Skornikov that we saw previously, it was made in a concentration camp.
What is this group picture?
Это богослужебное собрание в лесу зимою в 60 километрах от Москвы.
This is a worship service of a Baptist church in Moscow suburbs. They're meeting in the forest in winter.
Молитвенный дом этой церкви власть забрала и устроила библиотеку. Они сейчас собираются в лесу.
This church, this congregation used to have a church building, but it was confiscated by government officials, and now it is a library, and they're forced to meet in the forest.
Это сборная фотография узников, которые находятся сейчас в тюрьмах и лагерях за проповедь Евангелия.
This is a poster with the pictures of evangelical Baptist preachers, pastors that are in prisons and concentration camps today for preaching the gospel.
This large blue poster showing the persecuted churches and members in the Soviet Union is available to the public?
Эти постеры можно людям получить?
Да, кто желает, могут написать нам письмо по адресу Elkart и могут получить наш постер.
Yes, this poster is available, and you could write to Elkhart, Indiana, Post Office Box 1188, and request and get it.
Нет, ты дальше скажи, на 4.
What effect have the Billy Graham crusades had on religion in the Soviet Union?
Конечно, Билли Грэм не смог встретиться с рядовыми верующими. Он только мог с официальными представителями религии, которыми разрешила власть встречаться с ним.
When Dr. Billy Graham went to the Soviet Union, he couldn't meet with the simple believers, just ordinary members of the church. He was surrounded by leadership that was appointed by the Soviet government to host him, to meet with him.
And to give the indication that there is freedom of religion in Russia.
Yes.
Да.
Чтобы сказать, что есть религиозная
Конечно.
свобода.
Билли Грэм не увидел, он не встретился ни с одной семьей узников.
Dr. Billy Graham didn't meet any families of Christian prisoners to ask them what is happening.
Why do the Soviets refuse to allow the majority of religious dissidents to emigrate?
Почему советское правительство не разрешает большинству религиозных диссидентов эмигрировать?
Потому что советское правительство, оно вообще против иммиграции. Оно хочет людей сохранить в своей стране.
Because the Soviet authorities in general are against immigration. They would like to keep their people in their own country.
Оно боится, что правда о положении религии, положении в жизни в Советском Союзе станет известна на Западе.
And the reason is that they're afraid that the truth about the situation of religion in the Soviet Union will become known to the people of the West.
Are young Russians embracing religion to any extent?
Насколько молодежь интересуется религией?
В Советском Союзе большой интерес к религии.
In the Soviet Union, right now, there is a great interest in religion among the young people.
Потому что люди устали от безбожия, от атеизма.
People are tired of atheism.
И люди ищут чего-то духовного, чего-то чистого.
And people, especially young people, are searching, are looking for something alive, for something fresh, for something that will satisfy them.
Многие хотят иметь Библию, ищут Библию.
People are searching for the Bible, people are looking for Bibles.
И вот, например, эти 2000 гонимых баптистских церквей, это молодежные церкви. 50% это молодежь в возрасте от 15 до 30 лет.
The 2000 persecuted Baptist churches that I mentioned already, they are filled with the young people. Half of the membership are young people at the age of 15 to 30 years old.
Do these churches exist? I mean, physically, can people enter a church and practice their religion?
Эти церкви существуют, физически люди могут войти и...
Да, эти церкви существуют таким образом, что люди собираются в жилых домах, в палатках, в бараках, в гаражах, в лесах.
Those churches are existing not as buildings, but as group of believers, body of believers. They have their worship services in private homes, in apartments, in tents, sometimes in the forests, and anyone could attend.
Without the approval or tolerance of the state, right?
Значит, государство не одобряет эти.
Are they actually banned?
Они хотят быть легальными, то есть они строят иногда дома, но государство ломает эти дома.
Those churches would like to be legal. They would like to have a church building where they will have worship services always. But the government officials would like to control them, and that's why they're destroying their church buildings if they're building them.
Проблема в том, что согласно Советской Конституции люди могут иметь собрания, независимо от того, зарегистрированы, признаны властью или не признаны.
According to the Soviet Constitution, Christians can get together because of religious freedom that is announced in country. And it doesn't matter is this church registered or unregistered.
They feel that religion is a threat to the communist state.
Но религия это угрожает.
Конечно, видите, советская власть, она имеет идеологию материализма, атеизма, поэтому она ведет борьбу против других идеологий.
The Soviet state, the Soviet regime is based on atheism and materialism. And that's why they try to destroy religion, destroy other philosophies or other points of view.
In a special agreement between former President Jimmy Carter and Soviet President Leonid Brezhnev, you and your family were exiled to this country. Was the choice, in exchange for 2 Russian spies, was the choice of your family made by Soviet President Brezhnev or by American President Carter?
Кто избрал тебя? Кто назвал твое имя, чтобы ты был выдворен за рубеж? Брежнев или Картер? Чья это была инициатива?
Трудно сказать. Сейчас вышла книга воспоминаний Картера, он об этом не говорит подробно, да.
It's very hard for me to answer your question whose initiative was, Brezhnev or Carter. President Carter wrote a book, his memoirs, and he is talking about this exchange, but he doesn't say specifically who named the president.
But you're Baptist and he's a Baptist, and it
Yes,
kind
maybe.
of ties.
Carter Baptist, I Baptist.
He certainly was aware of your situation.
Конечно, Картер знал твою ситуацию.
Yes, конечно.
Yes, he was.
Since coming to this country in 1979, 7 years ago, has there been any attempt on the part of the Russian government to influence or silence you?
С тех пор, как ты приехал 7 лет назад, пыталось ли советское правительство заставить тебя замолчать или как-то влиять на тебя?
Сейчас, все эти годы, 7 лет, советская пресса в Советском Союзе очень сильно меня критикует.
Through all those 7 years, there is a special slandering campaign against me in the Soviet press, in newspapers and magazines and books.
Я иногда получаю здесь в Америке анонимные письма с угрозой, что меня заставят замолчать.
Sometimes here in America, I am receiving anonymous letters with these threats that they will make me silent, that they will find the way how to do it.
Но прямых каких-то воздействий советское посольство или советские агенты я не вижу, чтобы они делали, да, здесь.
But I don't have any direct contacts, or directly they don't try to talk to me or to threaten me or anything like that.
Примерно год тому назад из Советского Союза был звонок из города Киева.
Approximately a year ago, I received a telephone call from the Soviet Union from city Kiev.
Это было как будто бы кто-то звонил из киевской киностудии.
And it's the person who called represented himself that as a filmmaker from the Soviet Union.
Они хотели со мной беседовать,
They wanted to talk to
но
me.
я отказался.
But I refused
Я
to
не
talk to them.
подошел к телефону.
Why would you refuse to talk? Did you think he was government, a government agent, or?
Почему ты отказался? Ты думаешь, это был советский?
Я думаю, что это звонили КГБ.
It was a call from KGB.
А я не хочу с ними иметь никаких.
And I don't want to have anything in common.
You wouldn't want to know what they wanted to know, or
Тебе не
that.
было интересно, что они хотели?
О, я понимал, что это коварное. Они могут потом любое мое слово использовать во вред верующим.
I knew their tactics, and I knew that they will use every word that I will say, they will twist it, and they will use it against the believers in the Soviet Union. So I refused to talk.
Они хотели, чтобы я дал комментарий о положении религии в Советском Союзе.
They requested that I will make some comments about the religious situation in the Soviet Union.
Я говорю, у вас там очень много религиозных деятелей в Советском Союзе, вы к ним обратитесь.
But
Что дочь моя сказала, я не
I
говорю.
asked my daughter to answer to that person who was calling and to say that you have many Christians in the Soviet Union, talk to them, interview them about the religious situation in the Soviet
В
Union.
Америке я открыт, я могу вам сказать на любой вопрос, который вы задаете, но с советскими агентами я не хочу иметь.
In America, I am open about the religious situation. I am talking to you, I am telling my opinion. But with them, with KGB agents, I didn't want to talk and to discuss anything.
Because they would distort what you said.
Потому что они переврут то, что
Да,
я
потому что я вам доверяю, что то, что я говорю, вы так будете
Yes,
использовать.
because I trust you. I know that what I said, you will just use what I said.
Tobias Faber, Rector Emeritus of Denmark's Royal Academy, is with us to talk about the most recent trends in Danish architecture and Danish involvement in the design of German museums. Professor Faber, what changes have we seen in Danish architecture since World War II?
We have seen that there's a much more interest in the world for Danish architecture. And it's so that for the moment, export of Danish building elements of Danish architecture is for the moment our second income in Denmark. And it's amazing because Denmark is such a small country with 5 million people. And for the moment we are seeing new constructions in Germany, in France, in Africa and developing countries due to international competition which has been won by Danish architects.
What are the most recent trends in Danish design?
It's a little difficult to answer because of course it's so that as a country so small with no contribution really to to architectural trends, and so we have been the receiving part, and that would say that of course we know about the new trends in the States about postmodernism and especially in Europe the new radicalism from Italy and the brother Kriger. But it's in Denmark what it always has been that we have been very critical to all trends and new trends in that respect, that they think that it's the revolution, we have to start again, the time is completely different from what it has been before, and due to that you have to find a new language because we think that many of these philosophies and contributions to architecture is very superficial, and that would say that you will find the same trends to enrich the architecture and the overall environment, but do it in our little modest, simple way.
Let's take a look at some examples of fine Danish architecture through these slides that you brought.
It's just to understand the traditional background in our villages, buildings, and the countryside, and it's the tradition is timber work, half timbering work with infilling, very simple and with an order. And if you go into the if you see pictures from old Copenhagen, from the center of Copenhagen, from the middle of, from the beginning of the former century, where we were in an economic depression with the utmost economy, you still have the tendency to work with very simple architectural means, but to the same time trying to emphasize quality, interest for detailing, for good craftsmanship. The rather world-famous Danish architect John Utzon, who built the City Opera House, has built some of the less expensive housings or semi-detached buildings, because we have a long tradition for social housing schemes for all people and trying to keep quality. Some of the latest examples are shown up in more colorful with very simple materials at the same time, and trying to enrich the environment and get conditions that people living there has quite a lot to do with each other.
These are very functional too, of course.
Very functional.
This is lovely.
If we go to other sorts of building institution, and this is the swimming hall, you see the close interest we have in the environment to try to fit building into the environment, and in this case find a nice relation between indoor and outdoor space.
Is that very basic to Danish
Very,
design?
very. I think that the environmental question is superior. This is a recent small museum in a provincial town in Denmark built by a female architect as an extension to a private house. But it's so simple and beautiful, I find poetic, even it in many ways used the functionalistic language, not trying to make new superficial trend.
Now this is familiar.
Yeah, that's Jan Utzon, and he won the competition in '57. But what's very important is, in this case, he thought that the roof was the most important, because Sydney is placed down at the waterfront, and you have sloping sides where all people are looking at from above, and due to that he thought that was the most important. At the same time, he was very interested in not making just interesting shapes, but find logic ways, structural logic ways, using industrialized standardization methods. So it's really a very fine structural logic building.
It's the Sydney, Australia Opera House.
Yes.
This is lovely.
That's the only real monumental building he has built in Denmark, a church. And the main idea is the interesting roof, which is curved and vaulted, and giving in light from several sides from above. And his inspiration has been the clouds and the sun in between. This is another Jan Utzon scheme, the new Senate building he wanted in a competition, a Senate in quiet. And you have the same interest for a logical, simple, but very impressive architectural structure, as can be seen there. Another interesting Danish architect is Henning Larsen, and he has made, it's a library in Copenhagen, opened here a few months ago. At the same time, he won the competition international competition about a new Minister of Foreign Affairs, so far as Saudi Arabia in Riyadh. And that would say that he has transferred his way as a Danish architect to trying to emphasize, of course, on function and structure and simplicity at the same time to adapt the building to the people and traditions in Saudi Arabia. That would say
this is in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. What is the building's function?
A Minister of Foreign Affairs.
It's a beautiful building.
It's beautiful. And there you see that he has inspiration from and adapted his architecture to the Arabic countries. At the same time that you find the finishing, the interest for craftsmanship and simple simple effects as you find in Danish architecture. That's a museum, Dusiana, rather well known, many places in the world, in a beautiful setting. And due to that, we have been part in many new museums structures, even in Germany. And in Germany, they are having for the last decade an interest to build new ambitious museums, and are inviting other architects from other countries. This is American architect Meyer, who is in Frankfurt am Main, has built and just opened a new museum for art and craft, which is beautiful outside, maybe just like the British architect Sterling in his scheme for Stuttgart, where they emphasize is this to make beautiful terraces, lobbies, foyers. In some way, it's like the Grand Opera in Paris, where the foyers and staircases are more important than the performance itself. The Austrian architect Holland has made this scheme in Mönchengladbach. They called it Gesamtkunstwerk in Germany. But what's good about it, I think, is interiors, because in this case the architect has concentrated about making a beautiful frame for the arts, the paintings, the sculptures. In some of the other cases, you feel that it's more an emphasis of making an interesting piece of architecture and doing something for the public. That's in interior from the Holland Museum. I don't like the fixture, the fittings, but outside that, it's in the scale, in the feeling of going from one of the rooms to the other of the exhibition rooms. It's so beautiful, and I think in each of the places you will find interest of making a frame for art more than that. That's a Danish example in Düsseldorf. It's not open yet. It's centralized in the city. It might be a town hall, so important is the position, and of course it's a monumental. And
it is a museum, though.
That's a museum of art in Düsseldorf, and the architect's name are Dissing and Weidling. They were collaborators to the famous Danish architect Arne Jacobsen, and they are continuing his office and in some way his ideas, but they are very personal in their way of impress themselves. And I find that this new Düsseldorf museum maybe is one of the very best museums in Europe for the moment. And when I like to tell about it here is that because I feel just like the Sydney Opera and the new Minister of Foreign Affairs, that there's something Danish in it, just the interest, the intimate interest for quality and the detailing.
Good. Thank you so much, Professor Faber. We appreciate your being with us once again. We talked several years ago, and we enjoyed having you back.
Thank you.
Our guests on today's program have been Baptist Russian dissident minister Georgi Vins and Professor Tobias Faber, Rector Emeritus of Denmark's Royal Academy. Thank you. Have a good day.